Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Selkowitz. I'm the chairman of Lupus LA. I want to introduce you to a new friend of ours, Consequence. He's a rapper, a hip hop star, a writer, producer. You know him from Love and Hip Hop and all his work with Kanye West. And Consequence is a newly diagnosed lupus patient, and we wanted to talk to you about how that went down and how you're going to help make a difference. And so, welcome to Lupus LA.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, man, it's been quite a journey over the last couple of months. I was recently diagnosed with SLE lupus, in addition to downgraded from type 2 to type 1 diabetes. So I had a pretty rough summer, but by the grace of the Almighty, I'm here and getting strong every day.
And the diagnosis came down together. That's kind of rare, I would think.
Yeah, it was a very unique situation. Obviously, being in the midst of a quarantine, and so initially I wasn't sure if I had COVID-19 because of some of the symptoms that I was suffering from. I had dramatic weight loss and very, very limited mobility. But what wound up happening was I had to get a spine tap done, and that's where it was recognized that I was diagnosed with lupus.
So what were your initial symptoms? How did it all start?
Well, like I said, initially I was type 2,
right?
And I had my sugar under control. But around this time last year, I had been taking a series of flights. And I was working with Kanye on his gospel album, and somewhere in the mix of that, and I shot a video with my son did a cameo, and he jumped. I gave him a piggyback ride, and I felt like a crick on the side of my neck, and it was later discovered that it had triggered inflammation. And inflammation is a big part of lupus.
Yeah.
So for those who may or may not know, maybe watching this, essentially what happens with your cells is that I said it yesterday. I was like the best way I can the best paraphrase or comparison I can make to autoimmune disease is like when there's looting happening. So it's like diabetes type 2 for me was like the first person who threw a brick through the window, and then
yeah, no, that makes sense.
I
always describe it as this war between, as a lupus patient myself, and my story is a little different because I was diagnosed when I was a kid. I was 16, and so but I always tell people it's like your immune system is fighting itself. There's a war going on in your body.
Yeah, it's chaos.
Yeah,
it becomes chaos.
Yeah.
So essentially, because medicine is definitely hasn't been my thing throughout my life. I've always been the kind of guy who, just drink some tea or take a vitamin or take some aspirin and then just hop back up, and but this wasn't something I could just hop back up from.
So typically it takes so long to get diagnosed for most lupus patients, but your diagnosis seems to have come fairly quickly. So how did that come about?
Well, I knew something was wrong, and at my age, I just turned 44 this year. So at my age, I've seen friends of mine pass away from natural causes. So I was like, yo, something's not right. And, I have a 9-year-old son, so I had to really treat it with the urgency that it needed to be treated with. And initially they thought I may have had something called stiff man's syndrome, which is something really rare because of my mobility factor. And like I said, because we was in the middle of COVID, like I took, I ended up going to the emergency room multiple times and fainted and in the house, and a series of, I guess, things that was just my body letting me know that everything wasn't all right. And so eventually, like I said, I wound up getting a spine tap, and that's basically the most accurate intel that a doctor can get to see what's going on with your nervous system and so forth and so on and whatever. And that's where it was discovered at. So, I mean, to my advice to anybody who's feeling something is definitely don't ignore it. Definitely don't prolong it if you feel something, because usually your body doesn't lie to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I say the same thing. If you're telling yourself inside something's wrong, get it checked out. And even if it turns out to be nothing, sometimes just hearing a doctor tell you, hey, we did this test and it's okay, that sort of calms you down a little bit too. But in your case, it probably saved your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And so why, it's interesting. What I found being in sort of the lupus awareness business for so long is it takes people a long time to come to terms with their diagnosis, especially men, because lupus really affects women 90% of the time. So we men, I think sometimes struggle with that part of the illness. So what really spurred you to come out and talk about it so soon?
Well, for me, I understood the stereotype. Like, the stereotype is that it affects predominantly women, it affects African American women, but I don't, for me, I didn't take that as anything really, because for the longest time, I didn't know what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
So once, the doctor, and, the doctor said it to me, the doctor who gave me the spinal tap, and it, was like, yo, I need to see a rheumatologist. I went there and it was like, I think lupus doesn't have to be as scary as it's presented. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the end all be all is I'd rather have lupus than be dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just
and
my
you'd rather
reality.
have the diagnosis than not have the diagnosis.
Right. And
I'd
not
rather
have the
worse.
diagnosis because then I began treatment. And, like the beginning of my treatment was really rough because I don't drink or smoke. So I hadn't had any intoxicants in my body. So for me to jump on a steroid and jump on hydrochloroquine was a lot. It had me, and the dosage that, the milligrams that I was at in order to get my mobility back were very high.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, but like I said, I felt relief that at least I wasn't going crazy because I knew like I lost all this weight and like everything was coming back. Yo, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. So then when it was lupus, it was like, all right, I understand that there's not per se a cure for it, but there's treatment for it, and you may have to do some drastic things with your diet, especially like it's like for me, it's just like, I'm from a different place. I'm from Queens, New York, and so essentially I just compare it to like having two pistols to my head every day I get up. You know what I'm saying? And it's all on how you react to that is where you're gonna wind up, how you're gonna end up spending your day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So am I eating a whole chocolate cake, or am I engaging in am I running a full court of basketball right now? Nah, I'm not doing that right now. But I am working out. I'm back working out every day, and I'm steadily making dietary adjustments. It's not easy. I like waffles. I like pancakes, but
that's the hardest thing. The hardest thing when any doctor tells me to work on my diet, I'm like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but really, do I have to change the diet? It's the hardest thing.
Right. But you do. But you have to accommodate living with lupus. You do have to make accommodations for lupus. It's inside of you. You know what I'm saying? Or otherwise you're gonna bring on suffering. And the thing is, like my family had to watch me go through all this, especially my son. He's 9 years old, and I felt worse about him seeing me like that than me being like that. Because he's just he's only been here 9 years. You know what I mean? It's still my baby. So
a lot to handle.
Yeah. It's a lot for him to have to see that. So I definitely was motivated to get up and just show him this is life, and we live in life, son, and we gotta persevere through the valleys and the peaks.
And how has he helped you with your recovery and your treatment?
Every step of the way, just motivating me and just, Daddy, I want you to get your muscles back, and just, my son is like the sweetest person I've ever met in my life.
And he's in
I
your
love him
business, right?
dearly.
He's a
He raps.
rapper.
Yeah. His name is
He's
Kate.
really you're the
Kate in the Crown
inspiration for
Host.
him in so many ways. Then.
Yeah. So we I started getting better like in August, and his birthday is August 17th. So I threw him a big party. It might be my last. I don't know. So we just did it up. But I just was just motivated. I just wanted to make him happy.
Yeah. So tell me about how you want to use your platform. I mean, I think that's one of the things that Lupus LA is so focused on, is raising awareness through our celebrity ambassador program. And I think, when I was diagnosed at 16, I'd never heard of lupus, and most people I talked to had never heard of lupus. And when we started Lupus LA in 2000, that was one of our core missions. And, I think we're really proud of the fact that now lupus is out there. It's in the vernacular. People know about it. People are asking their doctors. But I'm always super excited when a celebrity wants to use this platform to talk about lupus. And how did that, come about?
Well, I have a project coming out later this month, and I had a Zoom listening session, and one of the songs I have a song on my EP. My EP is called Things Are Different Now, and we just shot a video for the song called Lost a Million, and I kind of go into detail about being in the hospital and so forth and so on. And after I played the song, I began to tell people this, just what my journey's been over the last couple of months, because I've been MIA off of social media for about 5 months. I just, it was just a lot. I took pictures at my son's birthday party, and I was only 113 pounds, and people didn't understand it. They thought I might have been using drugs or whatever the case is, and that wasn't the case. I was trying to doing my best to recover. And so, as I shared my story, I just saw that there were just a lot of people, whether personally or a family member, and I think suffering is universal. And so for me, especially when it comes to this, even in the, I want to be able to tell my story from both sides, from the aspect of suffering, because there's just certain things that I know people who have suffered similar scenarios with this disease and with diabetes can relate to, and may or may not have someone who recognize with or has even had to engage in something. And I also want to be able to show people like, yo, like, not for nothing, I'm blessed, and I want to share the blessing of just being able to, like, yo, I thought it was kaput. And hold on a second. And sorry about that. I thought it was kaput, but I'm here living life right now. So anything I can do to help, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely would like to engage, you know what I mean?
So what's been the most surprising reaction you've got to go in public?
Just the fact that, I didn't really even think people were going to pick up on the story to the extent that it did. But it's been like a lot of outpouring of just support, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, it feels good, because a lot of it was in the beginning was just me in the dark. It was summertime, it was hot, I couldn't go outside. It was, like, I got diagnosed at probably the worst possible time of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, the sunlight was all day, and and it was extremely hot in New York, and it was a lot. It was a lot, and I was aching and going through just different emotions and experiencing flares for the first time, and just a lot at once, but
I mean, it
what
really
I believe,
your psychological approach too,
Absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely a psychological, took a extreme psychological toll on me, but you know, um, God has relieved my burden day by day, and I'm just grateful to the Almighty for being able to continue to experience life. So,
And how do you think the pandemic and COVID-19 has played a part in, either your diagnosis or your recovery or treatment, that kind of thing?
Well, like I said, I was quarantining. I went to Paris, and in the midst of the inflammation, I went to Paris and took a flight there and back. So when I got back, I thought it might have been COVID because of the fact that I went to Paris, but like I said, eventually I tested, and it came back negative. So in that respect, it was like, all right, so if it's not that, then what is it? Because it's not, and like I said, I took every other extreme disease test, and it wasn't that. So I mean, I guess it did the positive, just the fact that, I could stay home for a little bit, worked to my advantage or whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know what it would have been in another scenario, but this is the scenario we were dealing with. So, I just tried to make the best of it.
One of the things that is interesting is how COVID-19 has affected so many people, both positively and negatively, in terms of their lupus. Because I think what you were saying is right. Everybody's situation is very different, and I think we found a huge uptick in stress-related flares. And then, I think it's a tough time to be a chronically ill person.
Yes, especially because, we all like to think of things in a most positive sense, but it gets hard with family members and things of that nature, and like when belts get tightened with money and all that or whatever, yeah, stress is arguing is a big trigger for me personally.
Yeah.
It's with the diabetes and with the lupus, I mean, especially with the diabetes, it was like I was at a point when I would get into like an argument with I was having like arguments with my son's mother, and then I'll be having arguments at work, and it was just like my mouth was just like felt like I had spider webs in it at one point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and these are, guess there's no intentional fault by people, but it's just like when you are dealing with autoimmune diseases, everything is intensified.
Yeah.
And unless you walk in those shoes, you really don't know how it feels. It feels crazy. It really feels crazy.
And the mind-body relationship, I think that with the way stress affects your actual physical illness is such a part of this, and I'm learning that even after 30 something years of being diagnosed, that the outside stressors really internalize in your lupus symptoms.
Yeah, it's real serious. One of the reasons I'm glad I've been able to start working out again, it's because it's just a reliever for me. You know what I'm saying? It just makes me feel better. Because when I was, diagnosed and it was summer, it was so stressful, yo. It was just like it's nothing I've ever experienced. It was like I was like, I'm gonna literally miss the whole summer. I can't get in the pool. I can't do nothing. Yeah. And then, but things got easier. Like but one thing I didn't know that I could use. Things got easier as the more I began to learn and take time to learn. I didn't panic, which was a good thing. So was sunblock. I started using sunblock, so it made it a little easier to come outside. Cause like first couple times I had to go outside in the summertime, like I experienced like just random cuts. Like my skin was like a cut on I had a cut on my neck, cut on my foot, cut on my ankle. I was like, yo, what the this shit is wild. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I realized I was dealing with a sensitive situation, and I needed to apply sensitivity to it to get through it. You know what I'm saying? You can't go at it like everything is just what you thought was regular at a point.
Right.
You have a new, you know, that's why my EP is called Things Are Different Now. So I had to have a doctor explain to me like, yo, I know what you're thinking, but things are different now. Your life is completely different now. But if you make the adjustments, you'll be fine. But you have to understand that you have to make adjustments.
Yeah, no, I hear that. So tell me, what's your message to newly diagnosed lupus patients out there? What do you, or even lupus patients who have been diagnosed for a long time? What do you want to share?
Keep going. Just keep going. You know, keep going. Keep trying to figure it out. You know, that's my best advice, is just figure out what makes you feel better. Figure out what, you know, motivates you to find things that'll minimalize the stress, the pain, the suffering, and you know, don't be afraid to ask questions. Because without asking questions, you won't know. Nobody's born a doctor. That's something somebody learned how to learn to be and learn to have expertise in. So don't beat yourself up if you don't know something, as opposed to taking a step back from it and just asking the right questions, or just asking any questions, just so you can start to get to a place of resolve.
Yep, that makes sense to me. Listen, we appreciate your time. We're actually, Lupus LA is launching a Your Story, Our Fight podcast in January. Has not been announced, so this is the official announcement. So I'd love to have you back as one of our guests on our podcast.
Yeah, let me know. It's easy. It's easy.
Terrific.
Word.
Well, listen, feel well, be well, stay safe.
Likewise.
And, good luck with the EP. And we'll be in touch soon for sure. And Lupus LA is gonna help spread your message.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and it was a pleasure meeting and talking with you, Adam.
You too. Thanks, Consequence.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.